Hey, collective, everybody. I think I'm just gonna do one of those for today. I can't decide what I want to do for Halloween. I'll probably dress up. So I'll probably be dressed up because I have plans anyway. So I'll probably just wear my costume and do another Halloween collective reading. So this morning I kind of woke up with the idea of helping that bird fly that's in us with the two snakes that are spiraling around the spine, and then they come up and they have the wings, right? So what does that mean? Like, what does that even mean? I try to take the spiritual aspect that I'm getting downloaded and some of the information that I've researched, I guess you could say, and it means it's holding your pain. Hi, Sophie. That's Sophie, my cat. One of my cats. Hello. So it's holding the pain and the pleasure at the same time so the bird can fly, so to speak. And the bird is you. Your bird is your spirit meeting the physical and doing the little taken off thing in life. Whatever that means for you, it doesn't have to look the same. It's not supposed to look the same for a lot of people. I mean, yeah, you have a soul tribe, but your soul tribe is going to consist of very different entities that kind of make up a certain balance of unique sources of energy. Usually from the same solar system-ish type thing, but not necessarily. And there's so many different solar systems with so many different planets and whatnot. They're immeasurable at this time. So when we're talking about, people on the planet, we're not supposed to think the same. We're not supposed to talk the same. We're not supposed to be on the same frequency, energy, vibration, dimension, whatever you want to call. What's the other one? Quantum field. So all of these things are interconnected. I'm all about bringing down the spiritual into the physical. I think that's my life's purpose, my life goal. Because people talk about spiritual stuff and they're like, oh, we're just going to compartmentalize that over here and then we're going to keep the physical completely separate from that. When in actuality, they can coexist. You can walk around and bring your spirit with you. And I think in a lot of ways, shapes, and forms, the practice of spirituality has been removed for the majority of people in society. Just because it's just been that way in society. I don't think anybody sets out in their life and says, I'm anti-spiritual. I don't think that's the case. I just think we allowed it to happen, so it happened. And so I have Yoda here too. So understanding that the ecosystem needs to function. There's a when they tried to take wolves out of Yellowstone Park, the whole ecosystem started to die off. And so when we're constructing this idea of how things should or shouldn't be, which is not a good word to use. Should is a bad word. Should be a swear word. I think we need to start understanding the value that people hold within an ecosystem and start bringing those parts of that ecosystem back to life. And I think we'll see a major turnaround in the collective as a whole, because there's so many practices that used to be that are not anymore. We used to have banshees. Banshees are not some horrific thing, by the way. I'm just looking at all the scary stuff, picking it apart, going, it's really not that scary. So banshees actually originally, hang on, let me take a drink. Banshees originally were members of a community or tribe back way back, who would attend funerals and basically sob and cry for people. They'd sing holy songs. Well, back, what was considered to be holy back then, sacred. to help people with their grieving process, to bring to life the emotion of the situation. And they typically lived on the outskirts of town, you know, because they knew a little bit more because of their communing with the dead and whatnot. But the townspeople would take care of them and make sure they had, you know, food and yada, 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 place to stay. But it was typically on the outskirts. They were kind of the hermit of the town, if you will. And it was their job to be that person who channeled that emotion for the community. Kind of like the giver almost, in kind of sort of a way. And I think a lot of those types of positions in society have been lost. You know, we have a real problem with grief in society. Nobody wants to sit down and feel their emotions. Nobody has time. You know, we got to have 3 jobs, you know, 8 freaking irons in the fire, you know, dinner to cook, house to clean, mow the lawn, tend to this, tend to that. And, you know, it becomes an overwhelm of nonsense at some point, and people tend to see through that. Sorry, he's gonna start whining like, I that's a short up. So you ain't gotta be that way about it. So I think that if we could explore the holes in society that we have and start maybe making positions for them, actual positions, you know, like I like the idea that there's people out there that you can, you know, give some pentacles to and they will help you with your situation because they have insight. I really like that idea. I'm just not I'm not comfortable being one of them at the moment. But I think that's awesome that people are starting to dig deeper for information, go a little bit further than what the general populace is telling them to. Take spirituality a little bit more seriously. Hold some things sacred and move in that direction, wherever it takes you, right? And I know it looks bleak, but I've seen so many tower moments, if you will. This ain't nothing. This ain't nothing. Anybody who's done research on the human condition over the course of their lifetime, you reach a certain point in your life, you're like, yeah, it's all happened before. And if we don't start looking at things that we need to adjust, it's just going to continue to happen. It's just going to continue. So, you know, I think this is going to be the very least decade of personal responsibility. And I think people are going to come to an understanding that if they work on themselves and rectify what's inside of them, reality will follow. And so we're just going to try to usher in some insight, enlightenment, and whatever else, I think. Gonna try. Yoda. Do not. There's no try. So let's do it. Okay, so we've got the Wheel of Fortune. Oh, jeez. Okay, I did not look at the cards before I started talking, but we've got the Wheel of Fortune, which is, it's just gonna take some time, right? The wheels are turning, as always. Not going to stop that from happening. It's just going to take some time. But look what the top wheel is presenting to us. Heart space. So we're constantly being asked to enter this state, right? And I'm a Gemini moon, so I don't have any problems with that. Yeah, I'll shut down my heart. Get right here, get it done, and forget everything else. But there's the heart space. And I think people tend to ignore that because we get in a lot of trouble when we get in our heart space. Things that hurt us, no one's willing to acknowledge, right? If you get angry, upset, anger is just the mask of pain. That's it, that's all. Okay, we have lost total and complete understanding of what it means to be emotionally intelligent. And believe it or not, those two things coincide directly. So we think that being cold and callous and uncaring and whatnot is the way to be. Look at Stoicism. And of course we need it. We're creating a society that looks down on every single solitary emotion. Even, you walk out into community and you can express joy to some people and they'll return it right back. But then you walk out into community and some people get irritated. Like, how dare you be happy? You're supposed to be miserable like I am. So it's a clusterfuck. There goes. Bye, kids. It's a clusterfuck of people trying to find their way from an emotional standpoint of either being able to deal or not being able to deal. So I think, hang on. It's dry. Mars in retrograde, baby. Extra dry. So I think it's a matter of bridging the two. We don't get rid of the mental, right? We take our brains with us, but we open up our heart for exploration within ourselves, right? And we take our mind with us and our intuition, our spirit guides, whatever have you. And when spirit taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, this situation is not going to be beneficial to us or anyone else, so we need to leave. Or when spirit says, you know what, I don't think that person has your best interest at heart, maybe we just keep them at arm's length. You can still love people and keep them at a distance. That's such a real thing, and people forget that all the time. So when we understand love, it's taking that person as yourself. So coming from that space, you're not going to coddle them into a place of personal sovereignty and security. Does that make sense? So if someone's hurting, you're not going to be able to resolve their pain. You can give them resources, you can give them all the unsolicited advice, and they're most likely not going to take it because they need to find their own way. They need to find their own way down, their own way through, and their own way up. Okay, you can say, there's The Art of Integrity by Martha Beck. Go read it. Which is a very good book, by the way. If I knew what the heck I was doing right now, I would link it in the description. Martha Beck. The Way of Integrity. Such an important book because it will, oh man, if you learn how to tell the truth to yourself first, and then to others in a kind and gentle way, Scorpio stellium. Oh. If you look up the word blunt in the dictionary, I'm sure you will find my face. So I'm learning how to be a little bit more delicate with things. And that, again, that stems from a place of not delicately treated, so not delicately action orientated. So learn in the way, right? With being kind and respectful at the same time. So it's a challenge for me, but I'm working on it. So there's a bridge there, right? There's a bridge to be built between what's in here and what's down here, and it comes out here. So you can tell, where a person's at in their life, what's coming out of this or this, whatever. You can tell. I mean, once you start to understand the frequency, energy, vibration, when this starts coming out of someone, you immediately know, oh, okay. So if you practice enough, this is a muscle, by the way. This is not just, she was born with this and blah, 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 blah. No. You work at it. You work at it and you work at it and you work at it, whether it's behind the scenes in your own time, professional hermit, or you have a way of already instinctually knowing, and you just know how to tap into spirit, right? So either way, if you just, it's just like a muscle. You exercise it, it gets stronger, right? And when you're capable of doing that repeatedly and kind of practicing it, there will be a pattern. And if you're willing to sit with yourself, your pain, your heartache, whatever it is, your physical pain, mental, emotional, whatever it is, if you're able to sit with that and just let it surface and hold space for it, it will teach you something. Our emotions are not some sort of freak thing that needs to be done away with and thrown in the trash immediately as soon as they pop up. They are signifiers to us, right? That this is our navigational system, okay? We just need to take this with us and understand that if, our little trigger sensor in the brain is getting, turned on, we need to understand, is this a real threat, or is this me reflecting on the past of when I have been in this same similar pain? So it's understanding how to process that and practicing it. And you don't need to, I did this pretty much on my own because it's really hard to find a therapist, at least in my area. It's difficult for me. Not everybody. That's not true for everybody. But for me, I've tried therapy like 5 different times. And if anybody's watched Penny Dreadful, I'm kind of like that. Like, okay, so before you do me, I'm going to do you. I'm going to pick you apart. And then we'll see, how it goes. And then if I do end up listening to the advice they have, it turns out not to be, because I guess it's a therapist that has to specialize in trauma, and not a whole lot of people understand that on a deeper level, and that's the level I'm looking to get at, because I'm all about getting down to the roots and pulling it up and cutting it away, washing it off, and seeing what it really means, and what medicine I can get out of it. So I just kind of been doing this a little bit on the solo end. And I don't recommend that for everybody. It depends on what your needs are. You need to follow, what your needs are. If you need to go talk to somebody, go talk to somebody. There's no shame in that. I'm just a little weird, another tart blossom in the universe who's just trying to understand things. So if it works for you, do it. If it doesn't, go inside. Explore on the internet, type in some keywords, and heave ho. But bringing that heart space up to the mental and meeting it in the throat, and then bringing it forward, is super important right now. We need as much vocalization on this spirituality thing as possible right now. There's a lot of people vetting themselves off the planet because this is just we've let it become something I don't think it was ever meant to be. And as evolution is wonderful and whatnot, the growing patterns, we have free will. There's the planetary alignments and the forces from the outside are still going to be affecting us. Like the moon pulls the tides as it pulls our water. Mars is in charge of blood and iron, right? So it's gonna make us hot, right? So right now we're going through a Mars retrograde, which means we're going to be a little more hot-blooded. We're going to be a little bit more quick to anger. We're going to be a little bit more underneath the surface, right? Because why not talk in animal language, Sarah? Okay, so having that basis for understanding kind of how things are coming in on us and how we're being pulled to that direction, as well as above, so below, as within, so without. So these energies are pulling in both directions. They're coming in and we're being pulled out to a meeting spot. And so the reflection of inner work is about to kind of bestow itself on humanity in a way. And we're just going to witness the outcome and try to pick through it as best we can to understand that maybe when things come around again, we'll be able to handle it a little bit better with a little more grace. And right now, we're being a little teeny tiny bit weird about it. Just a teeny tiny bit weird. Just a little weird. But the thing is too is like I think there's 2 Emperor cards in this deck. So that's, if you can believe it or not, that's the more positive one. The other one is a man in a what looks to be a European courtyard of a serious prominent monarchy type leader with strings to he's giant and he's got strings attached to people that are moving around in the square. So this one's the more healthy one, if you will, but he's also in reverse. So the wheel of fortune is turning, and the things that no longer serve are just going to crumble. They're going to crumble within us, and they're going to crumble on the outside, whatever that means for you. But not necessarily all bad, right? Because the things that no longer serve, that are crumbling, are going to make way for the new, right? They're always it's his little mustache, right? He's dormant right now, but in the spring it'll come to life again. But I think that it's probably gonna be a hot minute before we get rights again. Uprights again, I guess you could say. And let me pull. Yo, I love you. He's like, dude. Oh, he's cool. Never mind. He don't care. He's like, whatever. I have the warms and the laps. I'm good. Just don't fall off, buddy. Right? Okay. Let's see. You want to tell us how long this is going to take? What's going to happen? Any deets? So he's got some roses in his jacket, and they are being protected. Libra season. So maybe next year, a little bit before this time. Maybe like October next year. We'll see some outcomes, I guess you could say. She's on top of a building, and her gown is kind of, I don't know if you could say protecting it or not. But she has a lovely gown that goes all the way down to the ground. So her scales are balanced, right? They're not tipped. So something's going to be rectified, justified. And it's almost like her gown is protecting something. But she's guided by spirit, universe, divine, whatever you want to call it, right? Her head is in the clouds. And she's also got a protected heart. See all that white fluff? So, well, she's almost like her throat chakra is blooming with that white flower. No. White is sometimes a symbol of purity in some cultures, and sometimes white is the symbol of death. Not in a physical way, by the way. Scorpio stellium. So you can have death on a mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever level, social, right? But her throat chakra is the thing that's bringing it. So there's something, maybe the language is going to change, maybe how we speak to each other, how we express ourselves is going to be the main theme. She's definitely, to me, she's connecting the spiritual and the physical, because she's using the physical to park her bottom, right? But she's still got her head up in the clouds, and that is a very large sword. But her sword is up in the air, and her scales are down, and she is the vehicle connecting the two. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. You can take whatever you want from this, whatever resonates, whatever doesn't resonate. I'm just going to look really close to see if I missed anything. It's kind of like I don't know, the clouds look like they're kind of funneling in from two different directions. So she's taken at least two different perspectives and kind of bringing them in to her own, which is created in the front, which is interesting, because there's usually more than just two perspectives, right? So if the universe does have a scale, it's going to have more than two little cuppies on it. But in the physical realm, in the whatever D this is, that's what we got going. Okay, Oracle cards. This is Into the Lonely Woods Oracle. Those little beautiful big beasts. We don't really need to be afraid of, right? What does the universe want us to do? Your inner light will guide you. I cannot express how true that is. Cannot even begin to tell you, because, with the recent past 2 years of dealing with humanity and being human, I think we're all starting to understand that this dude right here, that's really important. And it is the way that's going to help you understand life on a little bit better level of existence. Just a smidgen. I'm just going to let you look at this because it's freaking cute. And why they got to be that? Okay, they kind of look brown. On the top of it, poison. Did you know that if you get poisoned, you take, I don't know what the ratio is because it probably varies for every plant, but you take just a minuscule amount of that same plant, symptoms gone. You're fine. Cured, healed. How crazy. Well, that's how they do snake venom. They collect the venom from the snakes, and that's the antidote to being bitten by a snake. So your spirit will guide you, and I think we're moving in a direction that we're going to have more access to that type of stuff on a spiritual level. Now, I personally do not use it, even though it's just like this. I'm a huge advocate for it, but I don't personally do it. If I want to have a bad ayahuasca trip, I'll just, get in my mental space for a day and get on the interwebs and see what kind of horrific things are happening and subscribe to some fear porn. And I will happily get into that all by myself. And I will do the same in the opposite direction. If I want to have a good day, I'll set my mind to it, put my heart into it, and then it will come. Now, this isn't saying that every day is just magically delicious. This is not how it works, but you can learn to kind of ask for things to come in, see what's coming in, understand it, and integrate that as much as you humanly possibly can on a real level, on a daily. It's not something that's totally lost. It's just, it's in the dark. It's in the moon. It's in our subconscious. And we need to stop being so afraid of that, because that's probably the one thing that's going to get us through this in a more compassionate and humane manner, if we can just tap into that and understand it and then bring it to the physical. So those energies, things called yin, feminine, and whatever else that have kind of sort of been suppressed and forbidden to exist in a healthy manner on the planet are being asked to come in. And as is masculine, real healthy masculine. I think we're in a state of ushering those two things in a healthy, productive way. Granted, we got our work cut out for us, but I think it's doable. I totally think it's doable. So, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Advice, anything else? Yin yoga. I've done some yin yoga. It's a real treat. It's holding the pose for anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. At least that's the ones that I've been doing. It could be more than that. It's not hot yoga. It's yin yoga, where you just hold it. And it's, at first you're like, oh, this is nothing. This is so great. Oh, this is great. And about like a minute in, you're like, we got 4 more of this. So it's asking you basically to sit with your physical pain. And it will help you process through the emotional, mental aspect of sitting with pain and understanding it and growing and learning from it. And even though, for probably about 15 minutes afterwards, you a little bit of a wet noodle. But boy, does it, dude, it'll give you some stamina. It'll make you feel good. It'll make you feel real good. Now, it's not going to make you buff. Just FYI, not a buffer upper. It's a core strengthening muscle. Like I'm not, I could be, I have been, just not right now. But, yeah. Yin yoga, kids. Yin yoga. Yep. Okay, that's what I got.